Hey everybody, Economic Ninja here. Good morning. I hope everyone's having a great day. I don't know what time this video is going to get out to you. I guess it figures how long it's going to upload. This is about China sparks panic buying after telling households to stockpile food ahead of the winter. Guys, I'm going to link the article below, but I think it's very important and very timely. And this is why. First off, it's pretty nice that they're telling them this, right? How's your country doing? Is your country telling you, hey, we got a crisis, go ahead and start stockpiling food right now for the winter? You've been told there's a cold winter coming. Well, that's real great. They don't tell you what to do, right? Here, the Economic Ninja in August says, if you guys want a Christmas, go out and start buying up Christmas presents now, because there probably won't be a whole lot to choose from in December. And it was nice that the vice president jumped on after the Ninja. She must have seen it and said the exact same thing 2 weeks later. But my point being is that I've been talking about this food thing for a while. Now, here's the deal with China, because a lot of people say, well, the heck with China, they don't like their citizens. But you have to remember their motivation. You see, if they understand how big of a deal this is, and you know what, let me read this first little part. Central planners are at it again. In September, China ordered the country's top state-owned energy companies to secure supplies for this winter at all costs. They were referring to the supplies to produce energy. So you saw an immediate spike in the price of oil. You saw another spike in coal and other acquisition costs related to making energy, right? Well, now they're talking about food, because they're saying now they're telling households to stockpile food ahead of winter, sparking wild conspiracies among netizens. Citizens. That's all right, cool. I'm not the only one that misspells words. No worries. I don't have a problem with that. About heightening tensions with Taiwan. Listen, there's some facts going on. There are people in this world that understand where we are, very powerful people, and they plan on taking advantage of this. Now, one thing China is doing is that they understand that if they are the country that is least impacted by an economic collapse, that's why they've been buying gold for so long and putting up billboards around their country for literally 5 years saying, buy gold and together we will be great. It's a true story. But then they're telling people, their companies, buy all of the materials you can. And trust me, they're not talking about in country. They're grabbing them from other countries right now. They say, grab as much stuff as you can right now to make sure that we don't go through another power outage. And now they're telling people, buy as much food as you can because the supply chain is imploding. I think about, we'll talk about trucking. No, we'll tell it right now. There are trucking companies right now that are closing their operations because they literally can't even get enough trucks to move back and forth from ports in this country. And so they're not making as much as they were. They're being forced to pay more. I don't care what your opinion is on if they're not paid enough. The facts are the companies run on a certain margin. And if that margin's decreased because they have to pay higher wages or they're not making as many turnaround runs, they're going to close. It does not matter what your opinion is. This is the real world. And so China understands this, and they understand one thing and one thing only, regardless of how they feel about their people, all right? They understand that if they are hurting the least, remember, the word in Chinese for crisis is also the meaning for opportunity. We do not look at it like that. So if they are hurting the least out of the world, they have an opportunity to take over more of it. So they are telling their people, and guess what? Because they're telling them up front, go do this, they are going to be looked at like a hero rather than a government staying silent and going, it's going to be a dark winter. Think about this. This isn't a panic moment. You're on the Economic Ninja channel. The reason why you hit the subscribe button is because I'm coming out and telling you things ahead of time. I've been telling you about this commercial mortgage-backed securities issue since end of July, early August, where nobody was talking about it. As a matter of fact, thank heavens, Google's got me as #1 for talking about that and talking about Evergrande before you ever saw it in the news. That's what the goal is of me bringing this information to you, so that you are well prepared ahead of time. And then guess what? When the crisis happens, there's going to be videos that pop on, and I'm going to tell you how to crush it. Now we're going to charge the mound. You know, a lot of people are asking me questions about real estate. You know, should I do this? Should I do that? And I'm all, I ain't doing anything but selling. I don't know about anyone else. And just because it went down 5%, maybe 10%, I ain't buying yet, because this reaction to this real estate crisis, or this reaction to this food crisis that is coming, is going to be huge. It's going to be huge. It's going to be unlike anything you've ever seen. All right, it already is built up to the biggest bubble in history, in recent history, the last 100 years. It's going to be bigger than the Great Depression. So I wouldn't go tell you to go, oh yeah, this is how you go buy real estate with no money down right now, when I feel, in my personal opinion, but I'm not a financial advisor. I'm just a dude that goes and makes money. I don't have any special licenses. I don't even have a college degree. I've got like 70 units to my name, and I'm like, I don't even know what to do with those. Why would I go tell a bunch of people if I'm not doing something? I know there's a lot of people out there in this world that are out there telling people to do this and do that when they're not doing it themselves. It's like sitting in front of a Lamborghini that's not even yours. So here we go. Last little bit, and then I'll leave this article, and I want you guys to read it. It's in the description below. According to Bloomberg, the Ministry of Commerce told households Monday, this is brand new information, just yesterday, to stock up on food in case of emergencies after a resurgence in the virus pandemic, heavy rains that sparked vegetable prices to go up, and the onset of colder weather. That's another thing, guys. The jet stream has moved. We are seeing a massively long cycle, and no, it has nothing to do with global warming. It's a normal cycle. This kind of stuff happens every 400 years. Just pop that bubble in many people's minds. That's the truth. That's why it's really hot. It's been really hot recently in many years because we're at the end of a cycle. Now we're going into I think it's a 400-year deep freeze cycle, which I think on the top of my head, it means that average temperatures are going to be like 11 degrees lower. It's not the end of the world, but that's technically the definition. That comes from a bunch of Russian scientists back in, 2014, I believe. Again, just going off my noggin, I don't have a fancy whiteboard and a bunch of editing going on where I can just read something and then spit it out and then clip that thing like I'm brilliant. Again, guys, I'm going to clip this below, but one last thing I want to talk about, and I think it's super important. It's about how you guys prepare. A lot of people ask me, how do I prepare? You know, I found somebody the other day that was out buying 55-gallon drums and for water, and I go, what are you doing? And they're like, oh, I'm gonna collect rainwater. And I'm like, for what? And they're like, oh, essentially the end of the world kind of scenario. And then they had a bunch of bottled water, like almost a pallet of this stuff. And I go, why wouldn't you just buy a water filter, a good one? And they sort of, you could tell the light bulb went off, like, what? Well, what if I can't find water? I'm like, oh, you'll be able to find water out of like a pool or if it gets to that, you're talking Mad Max and I got these sweet leather duds with my chest hair hanging out and spikes on, and I'm driving around a quad with shovels and picks and axes attached to it. I'm still pretty sure you're going to be able to find, a swimming pool. Even Mad Max has it swim. But I said, why wouldn't you just get a good filter? And I showed him the one that I've got, that I've had for 10 years. I don't know if you guys have seen it. As a matter of fact, I'll link it in this video at the end, okay? Where I show you like how I installed one underneath my sink. But I've been using this water filter for 10 years, and we loved it so much because it took out all this stuff, bio crap, and it takes out, what is it, not pH. It takes out fluoride, like 99% of the fluoride, and they do all these independent testings, and it's not that expensive. And you could see the light bulb go off, like, what was I thinking? I go, shoot, you're gonna have to filter that plastic, the water that's sitting in that plastic after time is just gonna sort of leach into it. And so, and again, it uses silver, the filter I'm talking about. So it's like thinking logically. You don't go out and buy a bunch of things that you don't normally eat for emergency food, and you buy things that last. And I always told people, I said, honestly, guys, if you would just, what do you eat on a normal day in vegetables? And they say, well, I eat green beans and corn. Well, do you eat it out of a can? They're like, yeah. Why wouldn't you just buy a year's supply at the beginning of the year? And I was telling this to people 3 years ago. And every year, that canned good has went up more with inflation than the average of the stock market indices. I just go, look, you make more money just buying food ahead of time, but don't buy stuff that you're not normally going to eat. You know what I mean? And yeah, just be logical with it. So anyway, I just want to leave you with that, guys. China's doing this, and I believe that if this sparks a fury, and this was just yesterday, it can cause a wave of food purchases because they're going to be trying their hardest to grab food from America on those empty ships and get it back to China. I'm telling you, they're not just buying food at their own stores. Those empty ships that are being offloaded right now, they're going to be saying, get food on there right now. And what would that do? If that happened, it would cause the inflation of our food or a shortage in our country. So just go down to the store calmly right now because you listened to the Economic Ninja and no one else around town did, and you're just going to go and buy a little extra food. It's not financial advice. It's just life advice. Just be a little prepared, not scared. All right, guys, with that being said, the Economic Ninja is out.